So today I'm putting in on the Juniata River, right where it connects with the Susquehanna, because the Susquehanna, like, it's spiked hard. The gauge is, I think it's gonna be up over 7. The Juniata did not get the same rainfall that the Susquehanna did way up, I think up in New York State. So I'm putting in the Juniata to find some water clarity. You know, I had a good couple days last week fishing as it started getting muddier. Right now, the river, the main river, I can see is totally like that orangey brown, zero visibility. We're gonna take a look at that later. We're gonna go fish the mud line. So that's the Juniata gauge. You can tell that it went up midweek, but it really dropped right back down, and I'm looking at probably 3 foot of visibility. The main river, 0. Let's take a look at that gauge. So yeah, that is the gauge at Harrisburg, and it shows we're well into 7. We're on our way up to 8 something, so it's a handful out there. And I don't know, I just feel like this backed up section of the Juniata with the clear water and the mud line and lots of other reasons is the right choice. The whole Juniata is totally fishable. The Susquehanna, probably, as far as water clarity, you're only looking at the creek mouths and then the major tributary mouths like what we have right here. A lot of grass, and it's flooded up into the, you know, up into the bushes. Not totally clear, but it's definitely fishable. I'm actually going to start with the Sergeant whipless crankbait with the swivels on body. Such a great bait. Alright, that was the 3rd cast, and hello. You were not gonna get off because of spinny hooks. What's gonna happen, dude? And I'm approaching the mud line. I'm gonna turn that way. You're gonna look behind me. Hopefully this shows up on video, as dramatic as it is. It's really impressive. This is basically orange and 0 visibility, and off to the right, it's green. Like the Juniata has some green on it, but it's stained. I mean, it's 3 foot of visibility as opposed to, it's just orange. It's just ugly, orange, dirt, mud, total mud. That should have given you an idea of how dramatic it is. I'm gonna put this guy away and just kind of rotate through a bunch of different baits here. I definitely want to throw the crankbait that I got the 19, and I think I got an 18.5 in the same area last time I went. So the spinny hook on that crankbait, the quad, I think is what it is, really has me excited. But you know, the Juniata is pretty big, and its clear lane here extends down quite a ways in front of Riverfront Campground, and I think the whole thing's worth working. A lot of people run right up to that wall and just pound it, and there's going to be fish there for sure, but you know, you want to work as much of the mud line as you possibly can, and in this case it's I got green water down this bank quite a ways. So found some more clean water here up in this creek. I'm gonna go up in here and explore a little bit. I may actually throw the smaller scented jerk shad just to see if that sort of finesse presentation is gonna get a few more bites. They definitely do not seem like they're in an active chasing mood. So That's the redfish toad on the pro rigging bullets. Alright, up in this creek, pretty good ways. And get this guy, a decent fish. Up and in. Really by slowing down and doing the dead stick in the scented jerk shad. You got pretty colors in this clean water. Came up here to eat some minnows and I gave you one, didn't I? You know, when the river's trashed, you gotta do what you can to find cleaner water. And I'm way up in the creek. I couldn't get to this creek if the river wasn't up. And let's hope there's a couple others in here. I mean, there's probably 4 or 5 foot of visibility, and I am running out of depth up here. There's a few of them up in there. Come here. Size. This is why my wife complains that my pants stink when I come back from fishing. So generally when these creeks flood and back up, what you want to find, there's really 2 hot spots, and it's the creek mouth, and that current seam in the mud line is one of them, and the other is the deepest water you can find all the way at the back of it. You know, you can have a long length of, you know, foot or less water, which I have above this, like going up to there's a bridge up there, but this particular hole here on this bend is it feels like it's about 6 feet, and it's just a nice, you know, secure, safe place for these fish to hang out, and they don't have to work real hard in the current, and you know, they get to push up in here and look for food. Let's look at an illustration of what I'm talking about. Alright, I stopped editing for a minute just to show you this. This tributary, this creek that was backed up, it wouldn't have been this deep if not for the main river being this high. And you had this brown orange water out here. You had a nice mud line right here at the mouth, and you're about to see me catch a lot of fish right in there. That mud line between this orange water and then the green water up in the creek. But where I started, I mean, that is a hot spot. The other hot spot is you move up into the creek, and the last little bit of deep water, I think it was 5 or 6 feet, which is where I caught those couple fish, before it gets up into real shallow stuff where it's about a foot deep. This last example of of deep water, before it gets shallow, there's a little bit of current coming through here. That's a hot spot. As far up in the creek as you can go and still have some depth, and you start to get a little bit of current up there. All of this is sort of pond-like, you know, and they don't want to be in here as much. So 2 hot spots. One, mud line right at the mouth of the tributary with that clean water on one side, and then all the way up the last example of deep water before it really gets skinny. All right, let's get back to watching the rest of this adventure. So I'm gonna show you something I just changed up. Look at that reel. See the two different colors? The red and the blue are alternating, and that's just how it laid up on the spool, but it's alternating. I think they call it metered line, but it's braided line from P-line. They actually call it spin braid. It's specially formulated for spinning rods. I really don't know what that means, but I got it because it was metered, and it basically does what I end up doing with bright yellow braid and a Sharpie marker. And that change in color, and I guess the red and the blue are, I mean, I'm looking at it in the sunlight, and you can definitely see that color transition change. Really important for throwing fairly lightweight baits like this scented jerk shad on that. I think it's a 15th ounce finesse rigging bullets. You may not feel it very well, but you can see your line moving, and those last couple fish there, that was certainly the case. I could, I let it sit on the bottom, draw my line taut, and I never felt a pop like you do in a heavier jig, but I definitely saw my line just start moving that way, and just said, yeah, that's an easy, strike detection visually. So P-line spin braid, giving it a try. Let's zoom back out to the mouth of this creek and that bridge there, that bridge shade. See if we can catch a couple there. I actually switched to a different color here at the creek mouth because it's muddier. This one's, I think, Gold Rush. It's basically black with a bunch of gold flake on the belly. I switched over to a craw. Nice jump, dude. The bat wings. Put it right on the current seam, and this guy said, "Oh, I'll eat that. I like crayfish." I came through this earlier, and through the jackhammer and through the lipless crankbait, and just wasn't happening. But slow down and finesse it and let things sit. Thanks, dude. And it's happening. Better than a jig rig. I don't think I'm going to lose them. I rarely lose them. Alright, I'm moving on from there. One more creek down here worth working. Now I'll work my way back up to the confluence. There's quite a bit of flow coming through here, and all I'm doing is kind of inching my way up through here, looking for little pockets it's actually concrete riprap along here. I still want to get some sort of like power fishing thing going, and I still feel like the jackhammer that worked so well the other day is our best chance of these fish finding it in this mud and reacting to it. That is full throttle, and it's just inching its way up in this main current. Picking up some speed right back there. It barely crept up through there. Alright, so into the same rationale of fishing that creek back there, where the best water was the current seam right at the mouth, and where it backed up the last little bit of deep water. What's the equivalent of that up in the Juniata? If we can find that, that may be a good thing to go do. Let's see if we can figure that out. I got to the confluence here, get to this little triangle of clear water, started throwing the crankbait with that quad hook on it. Who joined us? It's the current scene. We're on the most downstream part of it. You know what I love about this is that it's only one treble hook. Oh, that's a quad. It's just one. You don't have to worry about fish shaking and getting hit with the other one. See ya. Water. Yep, that was good. Tired? Yeah, you're pretty big. You're about 18, aren't you? Sure, this is fish. Alright. Not really on the mud line, but in the region, in that area. All you want, you're not getting off. Yep. Gotcha. It's amazing how well this crankbait is doing with that one spin hook. Single. Oh, yeah. They smell good. Bye-bye. Caught a couple here near the confluence, really just a little bit up from it, but we're gonna move up to what I'm going to say is the deepest water in the backup from that river being high. So we'll zoom up here above the bridge. I just know from doing this mostly in winter that there is a hole at 7 feet that really, I mean, they can get up above it, but they tend to stop at one ledge in particular. That's where I'm going. Incidentally, I've not lost a fish on this so far. I know it's sort of false thinking to say, hey, these are Susquehanna fish that are taking refuge from the high water up in the Juniata, because I think that they basically go, they're nomadic. They shift around they move everywhere, but it helps me think through in terms of, you know, these fish, when they do shift, I don't think many of these fish were in the Juniata before this rise began. Really Tuesday through, well, it's still happening. You know, I think a lot of these fish were out in the Susquehanna, and they're not now. They're here, because here's an easier place to be when the Harrisburg gauge is 7.5 or whatever it is. You know, and this river isn't dumping water hard. So it had a bump. You know, midweek, but it's been dropping since then, and it might have had another little smaller bump yesterday, but it was not significant. Whereas I guess there was a lot of rain up in New York State, and all that water's hitting us now. Anyways, you look at what your stream flow is doing, you look at what your tributaries are doing, and you find the best flow and water clarity, just opportunities for these fish to eat. So the other amazing thing about that whole tail treble hook quad spinny thing is how stress-free handling a crankbait fish has become. There's one hook. It's in the fish. There's not a free hook that is ready to go into your, like, the pad of your thumb or something. Like, it's just so much nicer. We're running out of daylight. stop recording.